One of the questions that I get a lot from people is, Princess, why do you wear red lipstick almost every single day? And there is a very significant meaning behind my red lipstick story. So when I was 12 years old, the love of my life was my grandmother. Her name is Pearline Johnson, and my grandmother suffered from diabetes. And after suffering two really significant strokes, she was in the hospital, Detroit's Receiving Hospital, in the intensive care unit. And one day she called home from the hospital and she told my aunt, who had been her caregiver, that she really wanted everybody, whoever could possibly come down to the hospital, to come and see her. And, I was completely, in love with my grandmother, and I begged my aunt to take me, even though a lot of our family members just could not make it that particular day. But I felt overwhelmed. And one thing that my aunt knew was that in order to go into the ICU, you had to be, I think, about 15 years old. And at the time, I was only 12. And so my aunt, who was affectionately known as Auntie Candy, she said, we have to make you look a little bit older to get you past the ICU nurse. And so she put this wig on me, this black suede and patent leather hat, and red lipstick. And she said, I think with the red lipstick, you look pretty convincing. So we went down to Detroit's Receiving Hospital, and I had an opportunity to spend the entire afternoon with my grandmother. We had conversations, we laughed, and because of her diabetes, she was going through some early onset memory loss and early onset of dementia. And so a lot of her conversations around that time had not been really lucid, But this conversation was different. She was telling me memories from walks that we took when I was 4 years old and the day I was born, and stories about my mother and all of her children. And it was just a phenomenal conversation. And she told me how much she loved me and how much she loved all of us. And the very next morning, we got a phone call from the hospital that my grandmother's condition had taken a turn for the worse. And before we could even get dressed, my grandmother had passed away. And so that conversation that we had, with me wearing a wig and wearing red lipstick that my grandmother was really upset about, became a memory for me. It became something that was just very core to my existence in a way that I really can't explain. And so from that day forward, as a 12-year-old, I would even sneak it to school. I started wearing red lipstick in school. I would have to wipe it off until I became a teenager, and my mother allowed me to put on different shades. So anybody watching this video who remembers me from high school knows that I had big, bright red lips even then, wore red lipstick all through college, and I do today. So that is a little bit about me. What rituals do you have? What meanings do they hold? And what are you willing to share with us so that we know you a little bit better? Now you know a little bit about my red lipstick story. Thanks.